Or maybe if you could just make
Yeah,
a small
sure.
introduction to
For
me.
those of you that don't
Yeah.
know Are Halland, he is one of Europe's leading information architects based in Norway. And he and I met, I think, over 15 years ago now at the Information Architecture Conference. My background is in web design and information architecture and UX. I have a degree in information science. And when I first saw Ara's presentation on the core model, it kind of blew me away, in part because it's so simple. And for me, models and approaches and frameworks and techniques that are simple are actually more powerful. And this idea of starting from the inside out when you're thinking about your content design has stuck with me. Even though I'm not a practicing information architect or UX designer, I still carry those principles from the core model with me. So that's Ara, and looks like he left for a second. There, are you back?
No,
All
I'm
right.
back.
Can
I'm
you hear
back.
now?
Yes,
Right.
I hear you. I'm back.
All
I'm
right.
back. Okay. So thank you for the
Yeah.
introduction, Jim. And I guess I already said
Yep.
it, but you're, of course, the Chief Evangelist
Yep.
at Mural and author of the Jobs to be Done playbook and mapping experiences and web navigation. And also for the last 10 years, so you were an information architect, but
Yeah.
for the last decade or so, you've been working on collaborative intelligence and workshop facilitation. And as your that's your day job. And then you do jobs to be done, consulting and training as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. I'm
Okay.
busy.
So today is I've been working on the core model for almost 20
Yeah.
years. I'll make an introduction, but this is a method that kind of maps very well with a lot of other frameworks. So jobs to be done, top tasks, OKR, business model canvas, and also customer journey mapping and OOUX, which is not on the list here, but I'm having a podcast with Sophia Prater coming up, so that will be exciting. So this is I'm trying to do a kind of a webinar series looking at different frameworks and how it connects with the core model. And with us here today, we had a small survey. So people calling from different parts of the country and the world and different perspectives. So we have UX and product designers, quite a lot of content strategists and content designers, some executives and product managers. So that's about the audience that was intended. So that's great. I also asked how many people are familiar with jobs to be done. Most of them say they are somewhat familiar, and a few people not at all, but some familiarity, and also with the core model. So people have mixed backgrounds, but at least have heard about both these approaches. So with that, I think I'll hand it over to you, Jim. Maybe you could share your screen.
If you just follow me in the Mural canvas, that should be good. So if you click on my avatar, then you can stay sharing. There we go. And just stay following me. All right. Yeah, like I said, I have a background in information science, information architecture. I wrote a book on web navigation. I spent a lot of my career in the UX field, but I was always interested in more strategic concerns of design and human-centered innovation. And I got introduced to Jobs to be Done around 2003 And I brought it into my work in very small and piecemeal ways. And since then, I've been teaching and writing about jobs to be done, so that in 2020, I released the book on jobs to be done. But I wanted to give a high-level overview of my approach to the framework. Before I do that, I just want to talk about the theory a little bit. A lot of people have heard about the theory, but I just wanted to make some clarifications before we look into the process that I'm going to demonstrate very, very quickly here. And I'm going to start with a quote from Theodore Levitt. Now, Theodore Levitt was a Harvard business professor in the 60s and 70s. And he used to like to tell his students, who were mostly MBA students, people don't want a drill, they want a hole in the wall. And I know this is a quote that you might have seen before. And people argue about the words sometimes. They don't want a drill, they want to hang a picture. And that's a whole separate argument. What I want to focus on are two things here. One is the logic inherent in this quote, right? And what he's telling his business students is that if you're a drill manufacturer, you're focused on drills all day long. How do I manufacture drills? What's my price point? How do I go to market? What's the brand? What's the experience of using the drill? And that's all good and fine, right? Any business has to focus on its own offering in the marketplace. But what he's suggesting here is that there are opportunities for growth and there are opportunities for creating differentiated value by flipping the equation. Instead of looking at drills, let's look at holes in the wall, right? Which also means a mindset shift about how you're thinking about the people that you serve. Rather than talking about consumers and even users, we talk about individuals and people and what they're trying to get done, right? So one important aspect of jobs to be done is we don't reference any technology, methods, or solutions, particularly not yours, right? So we don't talk about technology at all. What we're looking for is the core objective that people are trying to get done, and we can use the jobs to be done language to describe that. So inherent in this quote for me is start with the objective and work back towards the solution, not the other way around. The other point about this quote that I think is important is that Theodore Levitt is a business professor. And although he never used the phrase jobs to be done, most modern practitioners point to him. And the point there is that jobs to be done is not a design technique. It's not out to replace UX or information architecture. It's actually a way for businesses to better understand the human nature of the markets that they serve. So this mindset shift then brings up a real problem is, well, how do we talk about what people are doing without talking about products or solutions, right? And that's what the framework then lets you do. You can talk about holes without talking about drills. And here's my 6-stage process, kind of grouped into 3 different phases, right? First, you need to scope your focus job, and then you can create a hypothesis around that. We call that framing. Then you need to go out and investigate. And yes, you can use AI, but you can't skip over talking to human beings. And then analyze and prioritize your findings in the discover phase. And then finally, you need to synthesize and activate those insights in what I call spin. We're going to talk a little bit about this first section up here, which that's about scoping your focus job and creating a hypothesis. And the tool that I use to do that is the jobs to be done canvas. Now, this is actually an updated version of it. If you go to our website, the jobs to be done toolkit.com, you can download the jobs to be done canvas, but you won't get exactly this one. So this is a sneak preview into an update that's coming. And what this outlines are the key elements of the framework. The cool thing about jobs to be done is it comes with a way of listening to the people that you talk to in your market, right? So it's really, in that respect, jobs to be done is a way of seeing. It's a way of listening, maybe is a better way to describe jobs to be done. That as you're talking about what the objective is that people are trying to get done, you can categorize your insight into these buckets that are described here in the canvas. The first thing, though, we need to do is we need to define our focus job, right? It's right in the center here. You see this focus job. We need to define that from the top down. That is to say, this is a decision we have to make before we go out and do investigation. Who are we going to talk to, and what are we going to talk to them about? Any research project begins with a scoping activity, and jobs to be done isn't different than any research project. The first thing that I like to do is to just describe the field that you're in, the domain or the area that you're in. I call that the playing field. And this is going to set the stage for some of the other activities. So the Canvas is a collaborative tool, and you can do this together with your team. But let's say you're operating in the business of managing vehicle-related financial risks, which is a roundabout way of insurance, right? Car insurance. We're in that industry, in that field. You do when you're scoping your jobs to be done landscape. The next thing we need to do is declare a job performer over here on the right side. But to do that, I rely on a plug-in activity over here, just off of the Canvas. And again, this is a collaboration exercise. So you want to get your team thinking about who's involved in that field that we just named, right? So there are individual drivers, there are fleet managers, there's passengers, there's other drivers on the road. There's insurance agents, there's auto mechanics, emergency responders, car rental agents. There's probably half a dozen or more actors that we could identify in this field. And then I like to ask the question, Ara, which one of these is right and which one of these are wrong, right? And when you frame it that way, you're like, well, there's no right or wrong answer. It depends. And my question is, well, what does it depend on? It depends on your strategy and your strategic intent. So this part of the jobs to be done framework has kind of two halves to it. One, you need to look at the people that you want to serve. And the other thing is you need to interrogate your own strategy and your own passions and your own purpose for being. Is why would we select one of these strategically over the other? And just for the sake of argument, Ara, I'm going to say we're going to focus on individual drivers, right? So once you declare that you want to create value, and the question here is, who do you want to create value for? Well, we want to create value for individual drivers, right? Then what we do is we go to the other side and we look at, well, what jobs are they trying to get done, right? So we know we're in the field of car insurance and we're focused on individual drivers. Well, what are all the things they're trying to get done? Again, a group activity. Let's list all of their top level jobs, right? They want to travel from point A to point B, but they also want to be financially secure no matter what happens on the road, and protect themselves against financial risks and recover from a car accident. They need to maintain their vehicle too. These are all things that individual drivers are trying to get done. But you'll notice that these are on different levels of abstraction. The thing about jobs to be done, just like when you're talking about any human goals, is that it comes with a hierarchy, right? I can take any goal that I have and ask why and go up, or I could take any goal that I have and ask how and get more granular. And that's why I have the triangle there, because what we want to do is we want to nominate one of these to be what I call the focus job. So in this scenario, I'm going to say we as a team decide that we want to help individual drivers protect against financial risks of driving accidents, right? That's what insurance essentially does. But notice I'm avoiding the word insurance in my language. If I look at some of these other jobs, though, travel from point A to point B, I'm going to say that's actually a related job. It's about the same level of granularity, but it has its own beginning, middle, and end. And things like be financially secure, that's more of an aspiration. Peace of mind, that's also an aspiration, right? But if they make a claim, that's lower than my focus job. Or if they want to compare coverage. And then what you can then do is you can take all of these jobs that you brainstorm there and put them on this hierarchy, right? The key thing is you need to define that focus job, right? And what you want to do is then use this canvas to have a discussion, because you might go too high and then bring it down in level, or you might go too low and then bring it back up. Again, there's no right or wrong answer about what your focus job is. It depends on what your strategy is. So what we're ultimately looking for is something that's important to the people that we serve and something that's strategically relevant to us, right? You can think of a Venn diagram, and right in the middle, we want that focused job. Once you define your focused job, everything else is in relationship to that, right? So we have a hypothesis on who we want to talk to, individual drivers, and what we want to talk to them about. How do they get protection against financial risks of driving? And then from the bottom up, in the next stage, what we can do is we can actually do research, and we can interrogate AI to fill out the rest of the canvas here. And there are basically 4 categories of information. So jobs to be done comes with categories for listening to the people when you talk to them. It's the job steps. How do they get the job done? The success criteria. How do they measure success? What are the emotional aspects? And what are the differentiating factors? And the differentiating factors are all of those situations and conditions where you might say, well, yeah, it depends. It depends if they're a young driver or an old driver, or if they're experienced or not, or if they're driving a truck versus driving a motorcycle. All of those factors go in the differentiating factors bucket in the lower left there. So then after I do my research, I'm just going to fill this out for us. I'm going to accelerate this for us, Ara. What you'll have is a full model. You'll collect the information in these 4 buckets, and then you can put the job steps into a row, which forms a job map. And here's the process of protecting yourself against financial risks, right? You've got to recognize the need for protection, determine coverage requirements, identify providers, and so forth and so on. And then you have all of these success criteria here in the green as well, too. What makes getting this job done good from my perspective as the job performer? What emotions do I have? What are all those different conditions and factors that play are at play here, right? So the Jobs to be Done canvas is a great collaboration tool used to help scope your Jobs to be Done landscape, namely coming up with that focused job. And in Jobs to be Done, we take one job performer and one focused job at a time. What this helps us do is kind of cut through all of the noise in our organizations, right? And I've had this happen to me. Ara, I bet you've been on projects where stakeholders come in and they say, yeah, but what about this? And what about that? And you're trying to balance so many things at once, it becomes almost unmanageable. And what this allows you to do is to find the core job, to interrogate, understand, research, and make that your center of attention. That's why we call it the focus job. That Jobs to be Done brings a lot of focus. All of those other questions, how do we go to market? What's the actual solution? How are we going to build this? Is this feasible? That all comes later. And in Jobs to be Done, we can think about, who do we want to create value for? What are they trying to get done? And let's understand that first before we get into all of those other factors and variables. So to some degree, I think that really aligns well with the core model, because what we're saying is this focus job, it's not everything we need to know to create a solution, but it represents the core problem that we're trying to solve. So I know that was very, very quick. And we have a lot more resources on the Jobs to be Done toolkit. I have a video course. I have some downloads. We also do courses as well, too, to teach this, because it takes practice. It takes practice to be able to do this. I just wanted to show you some of the mechanics really, really quickly, because when we go into the conversation about the core model, I think you'll see some overlap. So with that, Ara, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. Great introduction. So this is it's a beautiful framework. It really kind of elevates the perspective, our kind of nearsighted user experience, small detailed focus. So you would call this an outside-in strategy, the Jobs to be Done?
I do, because what you're trying to do is align your internal focus to what matters to people the most, right? So and that's what's in that quote about the drill and the hole, right? Is we're not starting with the drill going, how can I make a better experience around the drill, or charge less money so that consumers can use it, right? It's not starting from your assumption that anybody needs a drill, right? And by the way, that's the biggest assumption of all, and that's the biggest bias, that anybody needs your stupid offering. People don't need your offerings. They need a hole in the wall, right? Let's not be so arrogant that I have the exact solution they need. Let's flip the script. put the drill aside and go, what are they trying to get done? Let's just understand that independent. So yeah, it elevates the conversation. Sometimes it can be abstract, but what it does, it ultimately tells you what's the right problem to solve, right? Jobs to be done doesn't tell you the solution to create. It tells you what the problem to solve.
Okay, so that's jobs to be done, and now we have the core model, which is actually it's kind of mind-boggling because it starts in the other end and does more or less exactly the same, but in a more concrete way. So I'll just make a small introduction to the core model. Actually, the other day I found the original napkin that I made in 2006.
So, do you have the actual napkin? Like you have the physical napkin, or just a photo of it?
Yeah, it's a photo. It's a photo.
Oh, okay.
But it's kind of it's the same elements. That kind of you have a user task and a business goal, and an inward path and a forward path and a core, where you want to take as a starting point. And this small little template has actually I'm a Norwegian, and since 2006 people have been using it in all kinds of ways. I don't have any control over that, but these were the downloads in 2003 years ago. So it's kind of, I know a lot of folks in Australia use it, it's kind of been used all over the world, and I don't really have control. And that's why I've written the book. And I'll just mention that will be available for sale afterwards, finally, after 19 years. But I'll get back to that. But anyways, the core model, it's 6 elements. And what I've found is that these are the kind of 6 atomic elements of user experience design and business strategy, and marketing, and a few other. So it's kind of like design, strategy, and design. That's my what I found. So what I think this very simple model is, it's a Kinder Egg surprise. It gives you a holistic perspective on what it is you're making, and it gives you a tool for cooperation, because anyone can understand these basic simple concepts. And also you're working on one thing, one core at a time. So that makes it a tool for prioritization. And the point with the core model, it's kind of starting in the other end, but at the same time not, because we're starting with one concrete contact point in a customer journey, one core or a hypothesis, and then we'll divert to outs. So we're starting inside out, and then we divert to outside in, because what we do is, or the reality is, this kind of it's emerged from website design and information architecture, from the realization that if we have a website, all we care about is the front page, whereas the user is only interested in one of these core pages or the touch points in our digital product or service. So this is the front page for the user. And that was the original idea for the core model, to start in the other end, start from the point of the user, and where they can find the answer to their user tasks, and start from there, and forget about the rest. Just fix this one contact point, which is, and then you prioritize your most important contact points and fix them gradually. So and a core like that can have many entrances, right? You have social media, you have Google search, you have newsletters, you have you can come from the front page or whatever, but these are inward paths, and that was the kind of the information architecture revelation that site navigation is just one of many inward paths. This was one of the insights. And then also thinking about, if we know what the user is coming for, then we can also design the next part of the customer journey, the forward paths. So if we know why the user is coming, what tasks they're solving, and our goal, and we fix that, then we can actually increase the chance of reaching our business objectives. Because what we're talking about is course. Jim, this is my favorite Venn diagram, and I think it's yours as well, because this is what we're talking about, right? It's what's knowing what's most important for users, and knowing what's most important for the organization, and use that as a starting point. And these are your cores. So a core could be a page or a process or something that answers defined user tasks, and at the same time fulfills at least one business goal. And this is what has happened over the years. I realized it doesn't have to be a web page. It could be anything. It could be a digital or analog contact point in a customer journey. It could be a physical meeting. It could be an onboarding process in an organization. It could be an app. It could be endless. But what we're talking about is the most important meeting points between the user and the organization. It's where the shit hits the fan. It's where your business meets the user, and in that single contact point, that core, that's where everything happens. You either solve the user's task or you don't. You either reach your business goal or you don't. So it all kind of, in one single customer journey, it always comes down to this core contact point. So that's kind of started out with a website core page thinking, but it could be actually anything, any contact point in a customer journey. So, but the point is starting somewhere, knowing the user needs and the business strategy, and select a starting point, a core, and start there. And based on that, you just ask 6 simple questions. These are super simple questions that anyone can understand. And these are the 6 elements of the core model. So the first question is, who are the user? Who are the people, actually, your customers, your citizens, your employees, and having starting out with an empathic understanding of who these people are. So answer that question, who are the users? And then the next questions, the user task. What do these users want to do? And we'll talk about tasks, and where's the kind of difference between tasks and jobs. But in the core model, we talk about tasks. What is it, the actual, what's the task that the user come to do, the question they want answered, or the underlying need that they want to fulfill? So that's question number 2. And then we kind of shift gear into the business school kind of thinking. And what are your business objectives? What are we as an organization trying to achieve in this particular contact point or core? What's in it for us? So that's kind of the top floor, and the postulate here, the kind of how user experience design and business strategy actually connects is that in order to reach a business goal, we have to solve a user task. so business strategy should really be about serving user needs, fulfilling business user needs, answering user tasks. And if not, it's a bad strategy, I'd say. And also, as user experience designers, if we don't realize that the whole point of solving user tasks is actually reaching business objectives, or else we'll disappear in the next round of layoffs, because we have to intimately understand that it's about users and about business, and they're just as important. So that's the kind of the top floor of the core model, and then the main floor is like a small customer journey through a contact point, our core. So the inward paths is okay. So originally it's how will users find your solution, but it's more about what is the user's point of view. Typically they Google for things, but if it's an analog kind of solution, you might as well talk about scenarios. How what's the physical digital mental context of users? But that's the inward path. How do people come to you, the thing you're making? And then we skip the core, and we ask the next question, which is what do we want to happen next? What is the forward path? Looking at our business objective, how do we prioritize calls to action? What is the decision architecture? How do we can use behavioral design? But the point is, design the forward path. Be specific about what it is you want to achieve, and look at your business objectives. And when you have answered these 5 simple questions, or the questions are simple, or the questions are good, but if you have good answers, you will get good questions. You will get good answers. That's what I found out. So what we're trying to, in the end, when we have this kind of context, it's small little structure, then we can come back to the core content. What is the optimal answer to the user task that at the same time reach our business objectives? And you can call this many things. This is content design. I know a lot of content strategists and content designers use the core model. And we're talking about core content. So that's obviously it's text, it's pictures, it's anything. In my mind, content is anything that solves a user task. But in the definition of Sarah Richards, it's what the user want to find in the format they want it, where they want to find it, and that's what we're making. And the core model has a built-in user perspective. So we have a user with a task and then a point of view to the solution. And it also has a strategic perspective, which is a business objective, and how does that translate to calls to action, to whatever it is we design to reach our business goals. So that's let's see. And also, of course, it's a customer journey through this small contact point. Yeah, and it's about inbound marketing, behavioral design. It's a holistic perspective on user experience and design, or design thinking, if you will. But the point is, the beauty of the core model is that this is so simple that anyone can understand. I can explain the core model. I've been using 10 minutes now, but I could do it in half a minute, and people understand it. And that's why it's so good for anchoring. And that's the workshop format of a core workshop, where we work in core peers and look at our products and services from a customer perspective. And that's where we can cooperate, cross competency, cross silos, cross hierarchy. And that's another theme I want to talk to you about afterwards, about breaking silos with having a shared language and understanding. Yeah. So and then of course this simple model also connects to many others frameworks and makes it very compatible. So that's the core model, and then we're talking about insurance, right? So I'll do so one thing we can do, of course, is to take the findings and thinking behind the job mapping as a starting point for a core workshop. So going back to your canvas, Jim. So we have protect against financial risks and driving accidents. So what would be the core for this job, do you think? How do we solve the user tasks and reach? How do we do what do we make?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If this is the objective, if this is the ultimate intent that someone has, a core would be something around an insurance offering or some insurance product, right?
Yeah.
So
and then we have okay, so we kind of we rigged our examples a little bit. So we'll use the insurance product as a core.
Yeah.
And thinking, okay, we're a product team. We're tasked with making a landing page for our insurance product, and use this brand new Mural core model template that I'll be sharing afterwards. But what we would do then is, and it has all these questions and help texts built into it. But if we think about who are your users, so how before we dive into that, how do you talk about target groups in jobs to be done? How can we use jobs to be done research to inform the answer to this question?
Yeah, in jobs to be done, you can almost think about it like a pre-segmentation or a pre-persona way that we think about things in a very timeless and generic manner, right? So I just said individual drivers. Now, we know there's different types of individual drivers, and you might have them segmented in different ways, right? And a lot of what I just talked about would come from the differentiating factors. So I think when we move over from jobs to be done to the core model, we would think about individual drivers, but then we would want to say, yeah, but which types of drivers, right? And then that becomes the target group then for the solution, right?
Yeah. So, and I guess in your book, you write about proto personas and simple techniques for empathizing with users. And that's also a method that works well with the core model, because the first part is about creating this picture of a actual human being using your product. So this is about empathizing with the user, and obviously we want this to be informed by real user research and not guessing, but having this empathic understanding of the user that's very important to kind of cut through this preconceived solution first thinking, but going back to the customer, who are the people that we're making this for. So, but this could be informed from research, of course. But this is being very concrete about a concrete representative customer. And in a core workshop, we'll typically work with different customer profiles. But what we see is that the user tasks often kind of come back to the same. So the next question in the core model is what are the tasks? What are people coming to do? What are the most important questions, or what are the underlying user needs, or what are the jobs to be done? We had this discussion. What's the difference between a task and a job? So
and sometimes there's overlap. So the two do have some overlap, but in jobs to be done, well, the short answer, Ara, is the way that you formulate it, right? That's really the big difference. And in jobs to be done, we strive to formulate things in terms of the intent that people have, right? So notice my focus job said protect against financial risk of driving accidents. I didn't say get car insurance, right? For me, get car insurance is a task. The intent is to protect against the financial risk, right? So you can, in that sense, it's a little bit more abstract. However, you'll notice in my job map, the orange stickies over there, you don't have to go right now, but you'll notice the orange stickies that I wrote. You look at something, you go, well, that's the same as a task. Sometimes they do overlap one-to-one.
So which one was that?
Like, I think I'd compare coverage options.
Yeah, right. So and this is I guess a task. And in the core model, the task perspective is very much informed by Jerry McGovern's top task approach. So this is about having user research to inform our prioritization, and using top tasks and tasks as a prioritization mechanism. So, but typically, when you come to an insurance landing page, what you want to do is compare prices and terms. And if you have decided, then you want to buy this as easily and frictionless as possible. Or you might have a question for customer service. So you have tasks, and then you have questions. So what about caravans? Is my caravan insured? And other questions: how much does it cost? What do I get for my money? What are the terms and conditions? Should I pay yearly or monthly? So this is the actual questions that you have to answer in your core content. So knowing these questions, that's key. Okay, and then we come to the business objectives, and this looks quite a lot like OKRs, objectives and key results. So it's I have a slightly different approach with MicroStrategy, but it's about finding these measurable outcomes or key results, really, so that you can. Okay, can you increase sales? Can you reduce number of customer service inquiries? Can you increase the conversion? So having measurable goals for the solution. So that's kind of the top floor for a insurance product landing page. Then what we would do is looking at the inward parts. We will start out with making a scenario. So picturing this user, it's personas and scenarios, really. Picturing a situation where this user would come to this page. We can map out the search words, looking at user research. We can look at our channel strategy and see how our other touch points connect to this. And we can look at partner strategy and all kinds of things in defining or understanding these inward parts to the core. And then we look at the forward parts. So what should happen next, given our objectives, what we want to happen. And that's starting out with she checks her prices, gets a personalized offer by email. And we also think about what's the wanted behavioral. This is kind of a starting point for behavioral design as well. So what we want her to do is to buy the right product or receive a personalized offer. So, and then you can prioritize the call to action, and you can look at other forward paths as well. So, and when we have this, we have this structure around it, then we come back to what is the optimal solution? What's the best way to solve the user task and achieve our business objectives? How do we answer the user's questions? So, and that's the core content, obviously. And typically we start with thinking about the overarching principles. She needs answer fast because she's stressed. It has to be easy to understand and so on. And then the content elements. What is it that kind of, okay, we compare price and terms by insurance. Obviously, we need to have call to action, check price, and to compare, and so on. So, and about channels, again, the core model is cross-channel, or it's channel independent. So, because so far in the core model, we haven't really talked about the channel at all. This is an insurance product. It could be explained on Craigslist or in a comparison portal, or at the website, of course. So, but the content, the task, the goal will be the same. And then you can also describe the functionality that you need to create this. And then you have the mobile prioritization exercise, which is how can you map out this as simple as possible, where you can check your price, compare coverage, contact customer service. So that's how would you approach the insurance job in the core model. And this is the example from my book, of course, to make it a bit pedagogical. So that's how you would use these two methods. So with the rich context from jobs to done, with a focus on, okay, we'll look at this job now, and then we'll select a core based on that, and then just start working from so we have the outside in perspective from jobs to be done, and then we start from the other direction, selecting one core, one contact point, and then going back again to see who are the users, what are the tasks, what are the business goals, what is the surrounding customer journey, and then come back to the actual content.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a lot of overlap there. The one thing that I didn't mention is that after you do this analysis, what you then need to do is prioritize each one of these categories of information separately. So what's the hardest job step to get done? Where do people struggle reaching their success criteria? What emotions matter the most? Which one of those differentiating factors matter the most, right? And I think that information will then give you a lot of confidence when you're designing from the inside out and trying to determine the core, right? If we just look at those orange job steps, for instance, we can say, well, there's things they have to get done, but which one do they struggle with the most, right? Before you start writing requirements even, right? Because I don't know about you, Ara, but, sometimes I've been handed down requirements and you think, well, where did these come from? How do we know that's the biggest problem to solve, right? So what Jobs to be Done does is it gives you precision and confidence that you're solving the right problem, right? And that your user tasks at the top of your model, that is where I think the biggest overlap is here with the Jobs to be Done framework.
So the solution first, that's the kind of that's the default behavior of organization. You have a solution, you have the design already, or the manager has seen this competitor doing it this way, and we want to do it like that. Please build it.
That's right. Absolutely.
And both of these approaches are kind of I like to think of the core model as actually a diversion exercise.
Yep.
So people come, we want to make this core. Okay, great.
Right.
Let's do it. But let's start with taking a small step back. Who are your users? What do they come for do? What do you want to achieve? Where are they? What you want? And then we come back to okay, what's the core content? And very often we see that it wasn't a core anyway. There weren't any tasks or so I had this beautiful example where we're working with Telenor, the largest telco in Norway, and we were tasked with making a web page that explained Telenor's invoice, because people couldn't understand the invoice. And you can picture this website, right, with mouse overs and hoovers and this, that. And then we applied the core model, and it just became obvious that nobody needs this website. What they need is to understand their invoice. So the core then turned out to be the invoice. So then we redesigned the invoice. Using the core model, and that's kind of the non-channel specific beauty of the core model. That you focus on the tasks and the objectives, and the behavior and the customer journey, and whatever channel solves that, that's what we're going to make.
Yeah, that's great. Again, there's a lot of overlap with jobs to be done. I think the difference with jobs to be done is that because we don't reference any technology solutions or methods or offerings, it can transcend any one project, right? And because it doesn't reference technology or solutions, it's generally timeless. Like a job map, for instance, we can ask ourselves, how did they get car insurance 50 years ago, right? And I actually didn't do this. Let's take a look at this. Let's see how well I did on my job map. Let's zoom in on those job steps there. Just can you zoom in a little bit? Okay. Recognize the need for protection. Okay, they did that 50 years ago. Determine coverage requirements. Identify providers. Research options. Compare. Like I don't use the word filter. I don't talk about accessing a website. That means in 5 years from now, when we buy insurance with a VR headset or a chip in our brain or whatever, I'm still going to go through these steps, right? So the point here is, once you have this foundational model and now you have a project around invoices, you can take that into that project and do the shift that you talked about. But I can bring this into other projects. I can even bring this into marketing and customer success and sales as well too, because it's not tied to any one specific technology like a digital product, and it's not tied to any one point in time like the project we have to launch next week, right? So it becomes foundational research that you can use at both strategical and tactical levels.
Absolutely. But if you look at the tasks,
we're just going back and forth there between mine
But I think these tasks are also pretty timeless. You want to find the best offer. You want to actually buy it. You want to have a question answered. So
I agree. But that's what I'm saying. Once you have that foundational research, like the ease at doing this and the confidence you have in doing this is like, I know that's a task that they're trying to get done. I think I just wanted to point out another difference that I noticed in jobs to be done. We don't use any ands or ors. And I would say price and terms, those are concrete solutions, right? So I formulated that as compare coverage options, right? Because you might talk to people and they say they look at price and terms, but they might be looking at other things as well too. So by putting that in here, we've made the assumption that that's the most important information. And in jobs to be done, we don't make any of those assumptions. Now, you might have research that says, prices and terms are the most important aspects of coverage to look at. But in jobs to be done, we would expunge that so that it's even more timeless and even more applicable to other fields and departments.
I think maybe one important distinction between the core model and the jobs to be done is that the core model is very concrete.
Yes.
The jobs to be done is a bit abstract. That's very timeless.
It's abstract. Yes.
But whereas the core model is
but yeah, exactly. And to launch a solution, you got to be concrete at some point in time, right? And that's why I think we both think these frameworks work well with each other.
Yeah, right. So jobs to be done as context to inform, and then selecting a core and nailing that through. And then you'll use, if you're making a website, you obviously use your search logs, your top task analysis, your customer interviews, your usability testing. You use that research to inform the user tasks and customer service inquiries. So really having a foundation to do this. Wow, time is flying fast. We're actually into questions and answers.
Oh, there's a ton of stuff going on in the chat.
A ton of stuff. We didn't. I was actually hoping to talk about customer journey mappings from your book as well. Because the core model also has a quite interesting perspective on customer journey mapping, because it's often huge walls and often quite hard to implement these customer journeys. But the core model is about starting with one contact point and then building a customer journey through, or I call it a core flow. So you have this product page, and then you have a core flow that might have different directions, but you have the same users, same tasks, and same goals. So this is very interesting. You can't do it right now.
So but I would argue, just a quick comment from my side, I would argue that if you had that job map, which again is very generic, abstract, and timeless, that could inform your core flow. Because if you know what people are doing before and after in an abstract way, well, then you can design the path, the inward paths, and the outward paths as well, too. It's not going to be one-to-one. It's not going to give you the answer. But I think you could be in that mindset of, oh, they're coming from here in a jobs to be done way, and they're going there. And that could help you design your core flow. So again, I think jobs to be done a more abstract, generic model, but it informs very specific design decisions.
Okay, so we have lots and lots of questions. I think
don't know how you want to do this.
Sophia has been asking, maybe, I don't know. I'll just take something.
It's like a whole separate webinar going on here in the chat.
Yeah. Simple is great.
We didn't even need to be here, Ara. They're just doing their own thing over there.
So I didn't have time to look at all this, but I'm just picking something. Does the JTBD canvas effectively replace something like the value proposition canvas, though being more specific?
No. In fact, I mean, if you look at the value proposition canvas from Alexander Osterwalder, the right side of it, where he suggests to start, it says, what are the customer jobs? So, that's the thing about jobs to be done, is it's foundational generic research, but you can take the prioritized outputs of that, the insights that you gain, and you plug them into other frameworks and techniques to move forward, right? So I would take what are the jobs to be done? Again, there's a way to prioritize that in the jobs to be done framework, plug that into the value proposition canvas. Just like we did here, you could plug it into the user tasks of the core model as well, too. And when you think about design thinking begins with a how might we statement. Guess what? Jobs to be done can inform your how might we statement, and so forth and so on. So all of these frameworks, for the most part, have a slot at the top of the framework that asks, what problem are you trying to solve? And that's where jobs to be done can help you make sure you're solving the right problem.
Okay, let's see. Sophia, when you define a contact point, is that a page, a content type, object template, instance of a content type object, all of the above? This is what we're going to talk about in your podcast, Sophia. Incredibly interesting. Sophia, of course, is the queen of OOUX, object-oriented user experience. And there are lots of interesting overlaps between the core model and core content, and her way of viewing object-oriented things. But that will be we'll do that in the podcast, Sophia. She has lots of other problems when questions when talking about users. Do you think mainly B2C or B2B? I guess that's irrelevant. It's any kind of it could be employees, citizens. We're talking about human beings. Jobs versus tasks, please, versus goals. So, okay, lots of things. We have to talk, Sophia. Could content in the core model also be the brand name of a company? Okay, that's interesting. Using the core model for a brand name. I think we have to.
What's the task? What would the task be for that, Ara?
I don't know.
I got a brand name. What's the user task or the job to be done with a brand name? I don't know.
Let's have a coffee chat about that, Maria. Rob, core content encompasses an awful lot. It's the things you can orchestrate to enable the customer to do a job and deliver your business objective, but it's optimal that really looks hard. Yes, actually, I call my book the core model, a common sense approach to digital strategy and design, because and I think about we want to make the best possible solution, the simplest possible solution. We are actually talking to some of the common sense human elements, what we can use our human brains for, using common sense. And the optimal and best, that's hard. But if we collaborate, cross competency, cross silo, then we can actually make really good answers. And the core model is great for asking those right questions and coming up with the optimal answers.
Yep.
Let's see. How do you look for optimization across?
I see a question from Sophia for me.
Okay.
She says, what trips me up is the customer as the job performer. My understanding, Clayton Christensen's theory, is that the customer is more of a hiring manager, hiring a product to do the job. Yeah, I think that's correct. In B2C situations, the buyer and the person consuming the value is the same person, right? Like in this example, right? I might go out and compare different insurance coverages and things like that. And then I'm the one who makes the decision to buy. In B2B situations, though, the buyer and other roles are actually separate from, the end user. In either of those situations, though, jobs to be done, I prefer to start downstream away. It's not about the purchase decision. It's about what is the value that you're creating. And that usually I like to start with the end user, or what we'll call the end user, after we have a solution, and work backwards through the B2B chain. Right. And then we look at the buying journey last in jobs to be done. Right. So the hiring isn't always the purchase. The hiring is also about adoption. Right. So even if I'm the consumer of a B2B solution inside of my organization or whatever, I still have to hire that product. And that is, I need to pull it into my life and get value out of it. Right. So I like to start at that end, start at the end. And it's really, that's what I said at the beginning. It's start with the need or the outcome and work back towards the solution, not the other way around. So we look at the market in reverse order.
We We almost we have 4 minutes left,
All
so
right.
we have to kind of we could go on for days, I think. And there were so many questions. But just one last one is how to motivate my team of designers and the other PMs to test out the method. So these are kind of timeless, practical, common sense approaches, but how do you get started using them? And that kind of maps well to our last part with resources, of course. So I know you have some training, Jim. You want to tell us
I
about it?
mean, you know, I think the theory of jobs to be done is fairly straightforward, right? People buy solutions that get their job done, right? But actually operating the framework and the process that I just showed, it takes practice. And that's what this session is designed to do. We go beyond just the theory and the high level, but we actually look at what's a job step? How do you formulate that? How do you listen for that? What's a success criteria? How do you prioritize that? And we do that over 3 days. So we call it a mini course. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 2 hours each session with a little bit of homework in between. And we have our next cohort in June. It's coming up in about a month, Ara. So you can go to the Jobs to be Done toolkit and sign up there. Just click on live training at the top and you'll see our courses. We also have a cohort in September and November.
Great. All the resources and links, of course, will be shared.
We have free downloads
afterwards.
there too. Yeah, right.
And if you want to learn the core model, I have some training options on my website. I have what I typically do is I do these 3 hours live online workshop trainings. Where you learn the fundamentals, how to conduct the core workshop, and get some new perspectives. So I have some upcoming dates in June. So that's available on the website. Let's see. And of course, the book. This was actually supposed to be a Kickstarter kickoff, but with my biking accident, I had to postpone the Kickstarter. But anyways, the book is already finished, so you can buy it right now digitally. It's just the PDF. If you want to have the print version or the audiobook or the ebook, you have to support the Kickstarter, and maybe we'll do it later. But at least the book is available for sale right now, and people can buy it here. Of course.
There's a nice quote from me there on the book. I'm glad I gave you that quote.
Yeah. What you said was this should be a required reading for anyone doing customer experience or what's the quote? I can't read it. But
design, user experience, and customer experience. I believe that. I've been a fan of the core model for almost 20 years now, Ara.
That's it's I'm almost sentimental. That's thank you. But I believe this simple common sense approach to digital strategy and design, it deserves to be in the method toolkit of most product teams and content strategists and these other scenarios where we're making digital products and services. So I'm glad it's available now in English, and I hope people buy it and enjoy it, or at least. And also, why not? We are. The last thing I'll say is I have made this. I'll fill out this resource page with the the video and the templates, and here's the book and the training.
Excellent.
And so on. So all the resources, I'll send an email with that. And also one more thing, you can actually use for the book and for the courses, you can use the promo code JTBD for 10% off.
Nice. Love it. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, everybody. I like to connect with folks there. But thanks, everybody, for attending.
Yeah, and thank you. Love to connect anytime. Stay connect on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So with that, it's over and out. Thanks for a great session, Jim. Always nice to see
thanks
you.
for having me. Yeah, it was so much fun. We needed way more time, but maybe we do it again.
Maybe we'll do it again. Yes. Maybe we'll do one on mapping experience and customer journey mapping.
Yeah, or maybe I'll have you. No, I'll have you come on my webinar. You'll be my guest next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant.
There you go.
I'll be there.
Look out for that, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye bye.